this is a unique opener. This is a unique style. This is a style that's very familiar to me because this is how I was raised, playing this type of up-tempo, trapping the whole time, spreading guys out, shooting a lot of threes. So if you know my dad at all, this is, we're all too familiar with this. We knew going into this game it was going to be a real challenge. And, you know, I thought in stretches we did some really good things. They made some tough shots. They shot a ton of threes. For the most part, aside from a couple possessions, maybe a little more than a couple possessions, you know, I thought we did a pretty good job on the glass. I know at least twice they had multiple rebounds in a possession. And then, you know, the second half we didn't take care of the ball well enough. You know, we did a really good job in the first half of doing it. I think we had maybe 4 turnovers in the first half. So obviously game ones are you know, their own are a challenge in their own right, but proud of how connected we were, and now we got to, you know, get back to work.
All right, looking at some of these defensive numbers and trying to figure out like what's fair and what's not, because they score 102 points, but they had 82 possessions. There were 162 combined possessions in this game. So it's like every 15 seconds someone's getting a shot. Like defensively, how do you evaluate, like you said, 102 points, but the way that this game was played and the fact that they did shoot 50% for the entire game?
You know, I think the 50% stands out. Only 6 steals stands out right away. You know, them only having 13 turnovers. And listen, they made some tough shots. Like there were some kind of mid-range, you know, floaters in the paint, oversized that, you know, we challenged and they banked a couple in. So, you know, I think, and that's the fun part on the flip side of playing in a system like that. You get so much opportunity to just stay aggressive and all of a sudden you can get it going real quick. So defensively, you know, I guess to answer your question, the field goal percentage, 50%, is obviously not good enough. And then, you know, I think we got to get more deflections. We got to be more active, pressure a little bit more defensively.
Is that a communication thing? Is that were they doing things that you guys didn't expect? I'm sure it was hard to scout them because first-year coach and all that stuff, like when you lack of deflection, steals, things like that.
You know, I think at times we were really concerned with their ability to, like, they cut really well in their system, cut for layups. And we felt like taking away those layups first and rebounding were the 2 most important keys defensively. Then on the flip side, obviously, you got to contest threes. So we didn't really give up many layups as far off of cutting. They got a couple off drives. We had some poor closeouts and some long closeout situations. But, you know, they just kind of kept moving back. They started moving behind some handoffs against some of our switching. And, you know, there were times where we needed to press up a little bit more and maybe not switch that because we were anticipating a switch too early. They bumped behind and had good shooters getting some clean looks. So it's a good way to attack, you know, switching. We got to be a little more aggressive with some of our switching. You know, we were at times switching 1 through 4 and at times switching 1 through 5. So I felt that was kind of their counter to some of that. They kept scooting back a little bit. That put us in some longer closeouts, and they got some clean looks off of some handoffs.
On the flip side, offensively, obviously 17 turnovers, you're probably going to say that's unacceptable, but what did you like about your offense today?
I thought we shared the ball really well, especially, you know, in the first half. We took care of it really well. We played through the paint. You know, we knew we were going to get to the free throw line a lot, but we did a good job, you know, at the free throw line. Just proud of how connected we were. You know, their system and style, it's relentless. So if you hesitate, if you slow down, right, they can turn you over 3 times in a row. And so I thought the biggest thing for us was we were really connected. I've said I feel like we got a chance to have, you know, a really, really good offensive team because of that connection and because of the skill and the shooting.
Yeah, I wanted to talk more about some of that relentless stuff you mentioned with them. I mean, 162 possessions in this game, I believe Adam was saying earlier. It does take 2 to tango, though, and you guys were definitely pushing the pace too at points. Do you expect to play more up-tempo, run-and-gun style? I think Bruce was kind of hinting at some of that when we spoke with him this year than last year.
Yeah, it's a strength for us, you know, and so we wanted to meet aggression with aggression. tonight and play aggressive. So I think our guys did a good job of that. Again, we got a little sloppy at times, which is part of it. But we're going to be, I anticipate us being a faster paced team. Last year we were faster than Ohio State's been in a while. And I think we'll be even faster, this year, because I think it's a benefit for us. You see the offensive firepower we have. We don't want to be reckless. We want to put a team on their heels early, and when we create an advantage offensively, we want to keep that advantage, keep that ball popping, keep moving. So, I think we're anticipating, playing at a faster pace. Maybe not how many possessions this was. That was a lot, but we want to be aggressive and play fast.
And then them pressing all game, how valuable is it to get that experience now for when, come crunch time in February, March, when you guys need to break the press, when you have a
You
lead
mean
with
when
3 minutes
every
left?
Big Ten game is
Yeah.
down to the wire? It's critical. This was, again, a great experience, for us, because you have to execute. They force you to execute and press over and over, and it's there's a chaos to it where players got to play too. So, but we did a really good job of working together, aside from a couple possessions where maybe we left a guy hanging in a trap. We were a little too deep, but we know we're going to be in situations where we got to break presses and we got to beat defenses down the floor and then make a poised decision. So we got a lot of experience in that regard, tonight.
You just touched on part of my question, but what maybe else did you want to get out of this other than just the pressing, playing a team like this? What else can you take away than just that aspect?
I think getting tested where you got to be really, really tough with the ball and make decisions under duress is great. It's great, because although we want to pressure, we want to be aggressive defensively in our own right in practice, we're not seeing this. We haven't been seeing this for the last 30 practices. Okay, we saw it for the last few, but so I think those situations are good. Going against a team who sends everybody to the glass is great, because we know there's going to be some teams in our league who do that. That's great for us to have to box out over and over and over and over and over and over again. So there was a lot of good opportunity for growth tonight. But I mean, listen, that's going to be a good team. They're going to give some teams some problems all season long, and it'll be interesting to kind of track how they do, because I think they got a really good group.
And you talked before about the chemistry. You mentioned the connectivity already, but how much did that play out the way you thought it would, based on what you saw in practice, the couple of scrimmages, when the lights are on and the game's like that?
Yeah, I think it keeps getting better and better, and I think it was better tonight. They were disappointed, and there were probably a handful of possessions we didn't finish well enough through the shot clock. We guarded great, guarded multiple actions for 20, 25 seconds, and then we'd have a bad closeout, or then we'd have a soft switch instead of aggressive one after we just guarded for 25 seconds really, really hard. So, I think a lot of times, right, and we certainly do want to jump to the immediate result of these possessions, but, we did some good things, I think on both sides of the ball throughout the game, and we've got to keep finishing plays well.
With 5:30 left, you pulled Brandon, you put Gabe in. I think they had just cut it to 13, so game is still could go either way. So you ran a 3-guard set there with Junie, Bruce, and Gabe. What's the logic there? What's the thinking? Is it to have another ball handler? Is it for defense? Because then you did keep him in for the final 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, both. You're thinking like a coach. Certainly having an extra ball handler out there, and then I think those three defensively. Gabe has been a really good defender. Since the day he stepped on campus. Bruce, obviously, we trust at a really high level defensively, and I think Junie has shown great improvement in that area. And listen, we as a collective unit got to continue to get better, but against a team who was really small in their own right, we felt like having the extra ball handling and guys who are, really comfortable in those switching situations, was going to be beneficial for us.
You had 2, possibly 3 times where you guys fouled 3-point shooters. I know Jason had one at the end. Junie had one. I think there may have been a third. A couple times where maybe you were trapping, they kick it out, and you've got a guy closing out, and you get him on the hand. How do you coach that, where you tell guys you want them closing out hard, but you don't want them making contact, where they were struggling with that a little bit tonight?
That's a great question. So we practice. We actually practice how to close out against shooters in long closeout situations. A lot of times, I'm assuming when we go back and watch, we put ourselves in those long closeout situations because maybe we just lost awareness a little bit. And then, when you get in that kind of oh crap moment, right, you tend to lose some technique. So we actually have a drill where we practice, flying by guys, right to right contest, against a right-handed shooter, left to left, or we even practice different angles. If like you're, up the floor running towards the baseline, maybe that guy's shooting in the corner, how to fly by and contest without fouling them. So we got to keep working on it, But I think I want to go back and see if early in the season, if we're making some aggressive mistakes. I don't know if you live with them, but you just maybe tolerate them just a tad bit more. But certainly it's not a recipe, to be a high-level defense if you're fouling three-point shooters. So we will be addressing that again when we get back to practice.
Coach, those were two great questions, and now I'm going to ask completely the opposite of Coach speak here. Did you know you were 3 points short of the all-time record for Ohio State basketball?
I did not. I don't even know what to say to that. I think for me, this was a fun game. I think it was fun for our guys. I know they're tired, but I had no clue that was even I guess there's a stat for everything, so I should know that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Do you like seeing them go at a higher pace, though? And is that something, you obviously do it in practice. Bruce said that you guys go that fast a lot. But now knowing that your team can handle that, is that something that maybe you can add a little more throughout the season?
Yeah, I think really the 3 games, we'll call them games, that we've had, Tennessee scrimmage, Ohio exhibition, and this, we've played at a pace that I like. This was unique. This was faster than those other 2, but those other 2 were high possession games. So it's who we are. It's who we are. Now we know we're going to go against some opponents that are going to, send most of their guys back. They're going to make you work in the half court. I think we're prepared to do that. Hopefully you're seeing we're a team that's a lot more concept based, less set driven, and guys are reading and reacting off of each other. They're playing together. The ball is kind of telling us what to do, and it's a fun way to play, and it's a fun way to coach. And we can do it because we got a great group of guys who are bought in, who have high basketball IQ. There's a ton of skill out there. It's been fun so far, but make no mistake, we're going to go up against opponents who are going to do everything they can to slow us down, and we got to be prepared for that, certainly. But this wasn't one of those opponents. This was one of the fastest ones.
Yeah, kind of an odd game as we've been talking about. But what did you think of Tilly's performance? I know he's going to have bigger guys, and this was not one of those games. But just overall, he scored and he looked pretty decent for the first time out.
I didn't really anticipate picking up the box score and seeing those numbers. We knew there was going to be a lot of opportunity for guys to score, and his efficiency stands out certainly. Seeing him active on the glass is great for us. Thought Brandon was much better on the glass, and Devin, obviously we talked about his rebounding. So I think Tilly's a unique player. He's a true 7-footer, and he can. Thankfully he shot some threes tonight. All right, I wanted him to shoot some threes, so you guys can see I'm not crazy when I talk about him being a 3-level scorer. But his versatility is unique. He can score inside, he can score the 3. Obviously, he can drive when guys close out aggressive, and in his passing, again, he had 3 assists, 1 turnover in a game that's designed to turn you over. Big guys, may tend to struggle in that situation. He was really good, really good. He's been really fun to coach.
Small sample size, again, odd game, but is there any concern about Devin's perimeter defense being able to, because I know that was moving him out there was a little bit of an unknown.
Yeah, I think in June it was. He's shown great improvement, and I feel confident. Now, there's going to be times where in the course of a game, he's guarding different types of players. Could be a shooter, could be a really fast driver, could be a physical guy, and I think that experience, like even within the flow of a game, knowing scouting regarding different guys and being in switch situations more will certainly present some challenges at times. But I think he has established himself as a more than capable, in fact, really borderline good defender right now. I don't want to give him too much. I want to keep him hungry to keep, pushing there. But I've been impressed with how much improvement he showed on that side of the ball.
Jake, limited action, but what did you think of Matthew and Amari in their college debuts?
Yeah, this is a tough debut. I think there's no question. And listen, I think the biggest thing we want to see is we just want to see guys going out there playing as hard as they can, being aggressive, playing with urgency. I thought at times that, our bench did that, and I thought at times it didn't. And listen, depth, we have an opportunity with this group for depth to be a real strength for us, okay? Tonight wasn't one of those nights where it was our best stuff. I thought Gabe did great things off the bench. This is no indication of how important Imagn is to this team and how well he's been playing. This is just it's a tough match for him. So those guys, it's about consistency. I think that's the biggest thing you want as a head coach is you want to kind of know what you're getting when guys go in. And listen, this does not define any of those guys, not only because it's the first college game, but because this was a unique first college game. So those guys have shown some really good signs in practice. We just got to get back to work and keep building those good habits because we know they're going to be really important for us.
Two more, Jeff, and then Cole. Back to the pressure that they put on you. Early on, they were making you catch it up, right? Very trap-friendly areas. As the game went on, you were getting the ball in a little deeper and maybe over the top, up the middle and stuff. What were you telling your guys how to handle that pressure? What kind of changes did you want to make?
Yeah, and then we reverted back and got too close to the baseline there in the second half. We talked about our guards, double cutting. I think when you cut one direction, it's easier to guard and deny. So we wanted to double cut, and then we didn't. Once we got, we didn't want to get buried on the baseline, right? We wanted to stop high and then turn it almost into a post up at times, and then we had kind of that third guy flashing through the middle as a last resort. So I thought our guys did a pretty good job taking the ball out of bounds. Don't underestimate how challenging that is in this type of game. Devin did a really good job. Colin did it at times, put Bruce in there at times. So they did that well. And, I think for the most part, we executed in those situations pretty well. I thought fatigue was a factor at times for our perimeter because they were working so hard to get the ball past half court because that's the other way I think you beat that pressure is you dribble around or through before that trap gets there.
So when you did kind of execute against it the way you wanted, you just want to go attack the bucket right off of that, right? And did you feel like you did that pretty well when you handled the pressure the right way?
Yeah, I thought at times we settled on a perimeter a little too much. We wanted to play through the paint against this team. We felt like against it when we got an advantage, they can bait you sometimes into just kind of living on the perimeter. We wanted to get in the paint and take those kind of kick out three. We actually anticipated this probably not being one of our high volume 3 games. Because of the way we felt like they were going to guard us, and I say that I don't know how many we made our first, however many.
You made your first 8 shots.
Yeah. But I think at times we settled at times. Other times we had some great looks and we just missed them. So we wanted though again to be really aggressive. That was important for us.
On Bruce's shot clock violation, I saw you go immediately to the bench and give it to him. What are some of the responsibilities that you put on bench players who even aren't in the game today?
That's my fault because clearly I have not done a good enough job, right, preparing us in that situation when we have a shot clock go off in front of our bench and the guys on the court don't know. So we addressed that in the moment, and from kind of the whole bench, staff all the way through. We lost a second of engagement there, and good learning experience for us. I would imagine that probably won't happen again anytime soon.
When you were going to get Christopher looking at bringing him in, did you realize that he was a 3-level scorer to that extent? Did you know he was that well-rounded offensively, or was he kind of taking you by surprise a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think first off, he was coached well.
Yeah.
And there were some similarities. One of the things we were looking for was someone with some similarities to the system we wanted to run offensively. And there were some. It's not identical by any means, but there were some. So I thought that was a great starting point. And we saw a guy on film who, wasn't high volume from three, but a guy who I felt like just needed some confidence and some opportunity to do it. And so from day one when he got here, we were in the gym and working on it. Sometimes we had 4 or 5 coaches, myself included, in there with him working on it. And then when it came time to play an open gym, I told him, like, hey, when you're in there, just get reps, man, get reps. And then we started practicing, and it was the same thing, get reps, be aggressive. And so we anticipated, now he's, if you track back to when we practiced all the way back to the summer and you track his numbers, I don't know that I anticipated him being that high, because he's had great volume and shot it very consistent. So obviously, it's different in games, but this was a great step, because I thought he managed kind of that middle third catch really well, whether to drive, shoot it when he was open. He's, again, his experience is really valuable for us, and we got high level belief in him.
Thanks, Jake.
I don't get a single question about the court or anything.
What do you think?
What is that? What do you guys
What do you think
Hold
of the
on, hold on.
court?
I'll go next. What do you guys think?
I enjoyed. I think it's an upgrade. I enjoy
It
it.
should never take the state off the floor, though. That's just, it should have never left the floor.
I think the court is awesome.
I loved it.
First off, I think it pops. We'll see what it looks like on film, but in person, I think the gray's perfect. I like just it's almost got a little bit of a retro feel with like this new age, kind of twist to it. So, yeah, I thought it was awesome. Thanks for asking.
Jake,
Online, everything is great.
All right, good,
People love
good.
it in there.